You good at opening these?
I never did it before.
You never did it before? Maybe I should do it.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Hello friends. Welcome to A Table for Two podcast with myself as your host, Michaela Bell, and I have my beautiful friend here with me. Okay, should I call you Janelle or Nella? What do you prefer?
Whatever you like to call me. I go by Nella.
Nella?
But you can call me whatever you like to call me.
Okay. We'll do Nella.
Okay.
I'm just not used to that.
I know. What's funny is that a lot of my friends from childhood call me Nell and Nella.
Ah.
So then when I decided to change my whole rebranding, all that good stuff, I was like, I like Nella.
Yeah.
So a lot of the friends I've met in the last 5 years, they're like, Nella, who's Nella?
I love that.
Hey, that's me.
There's something powerful though about a name change, or there's so much identity in that. But anyways,
that's a whole different topic. Because we can go in.
We sure can.
Let's go in.
I love it. Cheers.
Cheers. Oh my gosh.
I'm so happy you're here.
Me too. It's been over a year?
It's been over a year, yeah. I wish y'all were here with us. So welcome to the table. We're going to have a conversation about pivoting, which I'm really pumped about. But before we get into that, this is a question I ask a lot of people. And I didn't tell you about this question. So, raw, real. Tell me about little Janelle and what shaped her.
Girl, why are you giving me Prosecco and asking me these questions? Wow, that is, I think I'm going to get a little emotional.
That's all right. Get there, yeah.
Wow. Okay. Her experiences, I have to say my wonderful teachers. I just have to go there because I do think they were so constant and so important. They're so influential and who I saw myself to be.
Like in a good way?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Potential and I think coming from the kind of home I came from, I had a beautiful mom, strong, single mom. Both my parents just trying to figure out life, and in there trying to figure everything out, things get lost in that. And so when I think about little Janelle, I think just the positive relationships around me shaped me, and the people who were, it takes a village to raise a kid, so I would say that village shaped me and inspired me and grew me and and made me see my potential. My mom moved recently, maybe a year and a half ago, and we found some reports that my teachers wrote. You know how when you're in kindergarten, first grade, and the marking periods, and say at one point it was Janelle doesn't like help buttoning her pants after using the bathroom. Janelle's very independent. Janelle's very chatty. We're gonna work on that. I was like, you can't take the towels away from me.
You can't.
So, but I've always been someone who was I can do it. Let me do it. I can do it. Which speaks to my 8, my Enneagram 8.
Yeah.
But so when I was a little girl, I've always been kind of, out of all my siblings, the one who was everyone needs to chill. Mom's going through it. Or that person makes sure okay, this person's okay, that person's okay. I'm good. Don't worry about me. I'm good.
Do you think that is naturally who you are, or was it who you were conditioned to be?
That's good. It's nature versus nurture.
Yeah.
I think my personality is naturally who I am. So the chatty Cathy in me. I think I'm someone to naturally feel okay, I can take the lead here. I'm going to put myself in this position because there's a gap. Now, I also think though, in different ways, I had to be that.
Yeah.
So I couldn't be the little girl who is going to go play with her friends after school and not have no cares in the world, because I needed to make sure, in my little mind, I thought I needed to make sure, is mom okay?
Yeah.
Was big brother's not doing what he should be doing? Big sister, where's she at? Where's my little brother? He didn't have no cares in the world. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I feel some things were conditioned, but my personality is I'm very playful.
Yes, you are.
Funny.
Yes.
So we all get together, I'm going to bring the jokes out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's my personality. That's who I am. And I think in spite of having to fill those gaps, which made me this I would say a assertive, strong person, my joking side and all that. Yeah. That's more of like my personality. It's my nature. Yeah. The ways I was nurtured and or maybe the lack of nurturing certain areas made me fill those gaps in of I have to be assertive here. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Yeah. That's so powerful.
One of the reasons why I wanted to have you on the podcast was because you recently went through a bit of a pivot. So you pivoted out of a career. You were a social worker, and you have your bachelor's degree in that, and you recently got your master's. Recently-ish?
Ish. Maybe like 5 years ago, 6 years ago.
Okay. So you have your bachelor's, your master's in social work, and you recently pivoted out of social work into PR. And even not saying that that's like where you'll be forever, but the thing that I really loved and I wanted to have a conversation about was pivoting, because as a coach, I've coached hundreds of women at this point, and a lot of people want to pivot, but not many people actually do. Yes. So
and I'm there too.
Yeah?
Yes.
When have you wanted to pivot in the past but didn't?
Ooh, I would say right after the pandemic started, when was it, 2020, when everything kind of shut down. And I was, in a space where I was like, I want to move here, I want to live here. And then the pandemic happened, and I had to go back to my hometown, for obvious reasons. Yeah. And since then, I always knew, this is not where I should be. But it took, we're still experiencing some of that. And so it's taken 3 years for me to feel like I'm aligning once again with, what makes me come alive.
So even in that, one of the things I hear is, because we could look at your life on social media and think, wow, she wanted something, she went for it, and that was quick. But in reality, we don't know the full story of how long maybe you wanted that. So,
or even the events that occurred to make me feel like it's now or never. Why wait? With, what is life really about? Yeah. What are you doing with your life? There were events, very serious events that happened within the last 3 years that made me sit back and think Janelle, you are really the only person you can control. True. That's it. Yeah. And if that's the only, if it's in your mind, whatever you're thinking, that's the only thing that's stopping you. It's not what you think is stopping you. There is no glass ceiling that you cannot break right now with the things that you want. And if there are other people doing it, what makes you think you can? Yeah. And so it was really all in my mind. And once I got those things in order, and again, certain life events will cause you to be in that place to make you think about these things that maybe you didn't think of before, So, yeah, I would say that.
So was it being reflective? Because that's kind of what I'm hearing, is being reflective is sort of what allowed you to come to that conclusion of, okay, now or never. Was there a final straw?
Absolutely.
Yeah. What was that? If you don't mind sharing.
I don't mind sharing. It's really intimate. I had we all experience life, right? I don't feel like at this point we all experience life. We have really serious things that happen. So I don't feel like there's ever something that's taboo. Yeah. Yeah. So true. It is what it is. Yeah. And I think my family had a really big moment where, I had to, again, talk about filling the gaps and what makes our personalities and all that stuff. And I want to say maybe, was it 2 years ago now? I had to go and I had to go to court, and I had to stick up for one of my family members who experienced sexual abuse with someone else in the family. And no one believed her. Wow. And me and my mom were so supportive, and of course we were there every day, but that caused a lot of relationships to break off. And in that moment, it was so hard to revisit some of my childhood, because then you start to question all of your childhood. Yeah. And I had a moment where I'm like, I'm sitting here in a career that I don't want to be in. And not only do I not want to be in, but I'm sitting here having to process people's trauma. And now I'm being brought back into my trauma. Yeah. And I'm not even sitting down, and I'm here really advocating and just being here and supporting, and it was healing parts of myself, but I'm not living the life I want to live, and it's just something about this pain changed me. And it made me stop and think you really need to start taking care of yourself. Yeah. You really need to start listening to yourself. And something about when people don't listen, and people don't see you, you know, it's overwhelming, and I think we all been there. Yeah. But I think there's a moment that you have to decide, I'm going to listen to myself and I'm going to see myself, period. And I'm going to listen and look into myself so deeply that I'm going to start living the life that she deserves, period. And that's so good. Yeah, and I think for so long, again, like, you know, we could sit back and say, I'm not here because this was my starting line. It's not fair. You know, and I think I got into that for a little bit, and I would get mad, like, dang, I think I talked to you about that before, like, oh, like, why didn't anyone tell me in my master's, like, I'm gonna go to work? And don't get me wrong, shout out to all the social workers. I think you guys are amazing. What the work that we do, it's off, like, it's like, man, you get to, it's important. Yes, it's important. Yeah. I'm all about celebrating people's stories, and that's what social work is about too, you know. But I knew I was done, and yeah, I just think, again, going back to that whole piece, like what was that moment? It was just, I think, and you read it a lot in a lot of books, you know, you hear a lot on a lot of podcasts, you know, when you hit a moment that you feel like is your rock bottom, you kind of put everything in perspective. Yes. And I felt like I hit my rock bottom when it came to my family traumas. And I think as a person who I like to think as resolved with my childhood traumas, this brought a lot back, and it put me at a rock bottom, but I almost feel like it put me at a baseline. Yeah. Where it's like, okay, girl, now we can only go up. Right. So what kind of up you want to go now? Yeah, it became your launch pad. Yes, girl. Yes, exactly. That's exactly what it became. So, and that's like when I started like really going into running as like just like a coping thing, and like it just launched me into a lot of different things that I felt like gave me the confidence to, you know, pursue. I love that. We're going to get to the running in just a second, but what did the fear sound like when you were getting ready to pivot? Like coming out of social work, okay, what do I actually want to do? But what did the fear sound like for you? The fear sounds like, because it still feels like that sometimes, you know, it sounded like, girl, how are you going to do that? Like all these people who have, so like, you know, going to college was not easy for me. I didn't have the resources to get those things, you know, done. Like all those people who like were there to support you, and I mean my family, you know, they're gonna look at you like, girl, what are you doing? Which was all in my head, because as soon as I shared with them, they were like, oh my God, you go girl, you know. But I also didn't tell them until I got a job, or until I was ready to sign that lease. I did not tell them. Yes. You know, but it sounded like that. It sounded like, who do you think you are? What makes you think that you could just totally night and day change your life? It sounded like you have more possibility of failing than you do succeeding. Oof. You know, it sounded like you're just not enough. You know, and I think that's what it sounds like to a lot of people. 100%. You know, and it sounded like. It sounded like, oh my gosh, I have a friend who, she's like going through this change now, and she's asking me all these questions, because she's like, girl, but didn't you feel this and you feel that? But it felt like anxiety. Yeah. Even when I had all my ducks in order, where I could see it on paper that it all made sense. Yep. Because in my head, it said it didn't make sense. When I wrote it on paper, I said, oh, this makes sense now. But even looking at it, even though I saw it, and as a logic person, I like to, you know, my anxiety started kicking in. And I was like, what the hell? Yeah. Like, oh, my stomach started turning at different times. And I was like, am I making the right decision? You know? It sounded like I couldn't trust myself before. I could trust myself now. You know? And that's what the fear sounded like. Yeah. You know? It sounded like, what if you get there, and you have no one. You have your family here. You have friends down the street. You're going to be by yourself. Right. We hate feeling alone. Yes. You know? Yeah. That's what it sounded like. So what did you cling to that helped you move from fear to kind of like walking in faith? Yeah. But one thing that I love that you said too is that you still sort of feel some of those things. And that is something that is really important, that we have this idea that if I make the right decision, or if I pivot, I'm not going to question it. I'm not going to have any fears. My anxiety is going to go away. And it doesn't. Like, walking in faith does not mean that you don't feel the fear. It just means you're focused on something else a little bit more. Yeah. It means you do it afraid. Yeah. Period. 100%. So what were some things that helped you, like, that you could cling to, that helped you go from point A to point B? So I remember this so, like, I always tell this to my friends, and I remember this point being such a big point when I share this with people who are like, Janelle, I really want to, like, pivot. I really want to, you know, go towards a different direction, but I'm scared. I really want to get into a relationship, get out of a relationship. I want to do something that you're not doing.
Shift.
Right. Yeah. Right. And it's, I held on to taking care of myself. And I know it sounds crazy and it sounds almost like too basic, but that's what I did. Because I knew if I focused on my physical health, I knew if I focused on my mental health, I knew if I focused on those things, my financial health. Yeah. Simple things that I had control over. Yeah. I knew it would give me space to think clearly, to make good decisions, to make, and when I say good decisions, I don't mean these big drastic decisions. I mean a decision of when I wake up and I brush my teeth and I wash my face, I'm going to turn on YouTube. I'm going to listen to a motivational speech every single morning because I knew I had to reprogram my mind. And that's what happened. I remember listening. I listen, girl, to this day, every day. It's part of my routine. I go on and listen to Les Brown. Let me tell you, we talk about ex-boyfriends being sucky. I must say, I hate to say it, but I love to see it. I had an ex-boyfriend, and he was so kind, you know, and I remember, like, he was connected to so many great people, and anytime that, you know, I said, I want to do this, I want to do that, I was so afraid. But he, like, really believed in me, and he's like, I have connection, I have this, I have that. And then I remember when I was going through this whole, like, he, you know, he was just saying, how are you doing, whatever. And I was like, you know, I really want to move. I really want to change my life. I really wanted this. And he was like, Janelle, you've been saying this for 2 years. He said, I think it's time you reprogram your mind. And he told me, that's what he said. And then he said that, and he said, listen to Les Brown every morning. And I was like, okay, that's so basic. I hate that because you hear that everywhere. But it's so true. Yeah. And it's like, come on, you're sitting down with yourself all day with your fear. All day. These thoughts. I mean, it says in the Bible too. Like, everything we hear that. You know, it's the same it's the same principles. Right. But it's like what you hear, your thought, you know, that becomes the actions in the life you live. And that's why it's so important who you keep around, who you don't keep around. That part. Right? Yeah. So for me, what I hung on to was, like, listening to these, reprogramming my mind, listening to these things that were constantly feeding me confidence, feeding me faith, you know? I remember I heard one thing that Will Smith said, and he's like, fear is an illusion. Yeah. And I held on to that because I knew, you know, I just made that my motto because I was like, fear is just an illusion. Yeah. So once I get to that mountain of fear, I'm gonna look around and be like, oh, it was all in my mind. You know? I think about, like, Peloton. I love Peloton. We all know I'm gonna carry on Peloton. Yes, okay. But I remember, like, listening to Robin. I love her. I know, I love her too. And she always talks about being comfortable with what's her line? She's always like, it's being comfortable with the uncomfortable. Yes. You know, and building a relationship with that. Yep. And this is why I always say physical health always has to be on your priority list when you want to make a big move, when you want to progress. Always. Because, you know, when you could physically feel the change you're making and the resistance that comes with that, and you become comfortable with the resistance, then you start to see, like, oh, this is the same principle for everything. Just apply it to everything. Exactly. I want to change my career. I'm going to feel resistance. That's good. There's Oprah says all the time, you guys can tell I listen to these motivational speeches because I will quote them. Oprah says that there is an equal and opposite reaction to everything you put out. So how do I have the audacity to think when I want to improve my life that I'm not going to have resistance? Baby, it is a part of the game. Amen. You want to play the game? Put your jersey on, baby. See what I'm saying? Yes. But it's like, that's what I was clinging on to. Yeah. Always clinging on to, like, these positive things. I would write on my marker board that, you know, I had in the living room. I remember I'm big on vision boards. I'm so big. I mean, I have it on my phone now. Do you know what I'm saying? Yes. And I remember I printed it out, and I had one in each and every room of my apartment. My apartment was only like, it was like this big, you know? It was so cute though. I love your apartment. Yeah. It's so cute. But it's like I had it on my phone screens, my computer screen. I had it. I printed it out, put it in my bathroom, put it in my, you know, because I needed to remind myself why I'm doing it. Yeah. What's my why? And honestly, some people have these big whys. I don't have kids. I don't have, you know, my boo. I have a boo, but, you know, he's out here riding the Peloton somewhere. But, you know, some people use that to make it their why. But for me, I had to come to a place where I had to realize me being my why is enough. I can be my own why. Yeah. Because I deserve to live a life that I'm happy. Yes. I'm whole. Yes. Do you know what I'm saying? I'm excited. Right now, my motto is, if it's not giving movie energy, I don't want it. It has to be a movie or I don't want it. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
If it's not dramatic or timeless, I don't want it. But I deserve it. So yes, I deserve that.
Yeah.
And we all do.
Yes.
You know, but we're only going to get it if we believe that.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, your self-worth is, I truly believe that everything that you accomplish is, it rises as your self-worth rises. And the exercise piece is really important too, because even from like a neuroscience or like a science perspective, the things like when you work out and your muscles secrete molecules that literally travel to your brain that act like antidepressants. That's right. Yes. And like truly, so movement is such an important part. Like if you want to make a change in your life, like a positive change, you want to make a pivot, you want to make a shift, we got to figure out the movement piece of that. Even if it's walking every day. That's it. It's just moving your essentially contracting your muscles. Right. That's really it. And you started that. You were really focusing in on that when you got the Peloton and then you decided to start running and all of that. So I loved so much of what you said. It was just so powerful. Yes. And again, like some, you know, and it's hard because I know it's hard for some people. They feel like they're not motivated when it comes to physical health. And that can be really hard. Like, I don't want to downplay it because I feel like it's easy for me to talk about it because it's like, this is what I did, you know? But it was hard. And I think step one, you really have to focus on reprogramming your mind because your mind runs your life. 100%. And once you can get your mind on board with your vision, you're unstoppable. Because the days I didn't want to get up and go for a run, my mind to my body, I don't care. This is what we do. So I really want, if you're going to take anything away, it's like, listen to something positive. Consistently. 100%. Yeah. You need, like, I used to listen to the same thing every day. There was one year in my business where I was super focused on a specific goal, and I listened to one speech every single morning. And that year was the highest year that I'd ever produced. Wow. In sales. I believe it. Really, because your mind really does lead the way for sure. And it's these small changes. I think sometimes we think we have to make these huge leaps. Yes. And even if you just say to yourself, okay, there's one podcast that really gets me going, or there's one YouTube, like 10-minute video that just lights me up. Just watch that. Just listen to that every single day, and making those small changes. Everyone's talking right now about like manifestation, which is a really big word. And I've had some people in like the Christian or the church faith that like really push back on that word. But essentially all that it is, we manifest every single day, whether we like it or not. So if we're saying to ourselves and we're focused more on the fear, you're going to manifest more of that fear. So essentially you're doing it either way. Sis, brother, you're doing it either way. Yeah, so if you want to manifest or bring to life or walk in faith, like I think so much of faith is part of that manifestation, because you're walking in something that you don't yet see, but you believe that can happen. That's so good. For you. So one of the things that, and let me know if this has worked for you at all, or if you did this, but visualization and mental imagery has been a huge part of my life. And so I think that's part of the vision board for you potentially, was like seeing that everywhere. But my vision boards have always been a little bit different. So like, let's say for example, I want to be a New York Times bestseller. I don't put that on my vision board. I have a picture of me typing my computer and saying, I write every day. Yes. Yep. So the things that you're visualizing and you're having your mental imagery about is not like necessarily finishing the race, but it is a marathon, imagining yourself every day, putting your sneakers on, even though it's really freaking cold out and it's the last thing you want to do. But visualize those things instead of just the finish line, because that will really help you. Manifestation or walking in faith is really more so about doing the daily things that are necessary. So like less focusing on the finish line, more so focusing on the running every day. Yes. But did you do like visualization other than the vision board, or was that your main thing? So it's so funny because I was telling my girlfriend about this.
it's what I started doing. I didn't know there was like a term for it. Someone just said this to me the other week, and they're like, I write letters. And I was like, I've been doing that, like, this is crazy. So when I decided, like, okay, I'm done playing games, I started writing myself letters for the next month. It was so, and I still do it. So what I do is I write around the 20th of every month. I write myself a letter for the end of the next month. And so, for example, for March, in February, I wrote myself a letter, and I was like, hey, wow, in March, I can't believe all the things you did. This is insane. You're probably feeling this way right now. And good for you, you know? And I speak to myself almost like a future self, telling myself, like, this is what happened in March.
Yep.
You know, and I mean, I don't know. The March didn't even begin. But this is what I'm expecting to happen in March. And this is that faith piece. And again, people have these arguments, manifestation. God, well, I believe, I remember I parked my car at my social work job, and I was like, God, if you release to me everything that belongs to me, I promise I will always give you credit. You know? So that's why I do, there's a big piece of this. I do feel like, for me, God is real. You know?
Yes.
And I feel like I need him. I need that, I need that higher power to partner with me, you know? And so for me, the whole manifestation part is more believing. It's a faith part.
Yes.
So manifestation to me is faith.
Yes.
Faith, you know, faith without works is dead. I can't manifest. I can't sit on my couch and say, I want to marry Alex Tucson without hitting him up on Instagram. Let's keep it 100. It's like, I'm just playing. I need to stop because my man does not like when I play like that. No, but, you know, but I can't sit down and say, you know, I'm going to do X, Y, Z, but I'm not taking steps towards that. Right? Because that's not how it works, baby. Correct. You know? So, but what I can do is I can encourage myself. And I can tell myself, like, this is, you know, I was writing to myself these letters, and I wrote myself, like, for example, like, I started all of this in September. I was writing myself these letters, and I would say, this month, this is what happened. And oh my goodness, like, I'm so, you know, and I would fold it up, and I'll read on September 20th, or I read on October 20th, read on, and what I'm finding is, like, every time I'm reading it, you know, it brings tears to my eyes, because I'm like, you are so much more in control than what you think. You are so much more powerful than what you think. Yeah. You know, when I think about, like, even science and the way our bodies are, and we're all atoms, we're all energy. You know, you're going to attract the energy that you put out, because like things come together. Yes. Just like us.
Like attracts like.
Yeah, you know? So it's like, I couldn't believe it. Now it's like more like I talk to my friends and they're like, oh my God, like, you're like this, like, it really is like a movie. And I'm like, hell yeah, it's a movie. I told you. Yeah. You know, it's a soundtrack, you know? But I just think, like, now, you know, just writing myself out those letters, it was almost like me putting myself up against a mirror and saying, I wrote this and this came out. I never seen it before. I never seen you do this, but I see it in my head, but I haven't, you know, I haven't felt you do this. I don't know that you can do it, you know? But if it's in your imagination, I really do think that God put it there.
Oh my gosh, 100%.
You know, and if God put it there, then he's gonna put it here.
Amen.
You know, and it's gonna manifest. You get what I'm saying? And so that's why I'm like, you know, wherever your stance is with that, it's all great. Do what works for you, but it works for me.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Or just change the name of it, because honestly,
we all play the game.
Manifestation is totally explained in neuroscience. So they're, you know, we'll just say that. Did you experience any pushback in your pivot?
That's so good. You know what's funny? I thought, so this is what I did. When I was like, you know, enough's enough. Okay, this is how I started. I started in September. I remember I turned 31. And I was like, you know, I went through all this family stuff.
I forgot that you're so young.
Thank you. Girl, I work with a lot of 22-year-olds. Girl,
isn't that
come
just
through?
It doesn't seem right.
It feels really good, thank you. She's trying to get me tipsy, y'all. It's so funny, and I don't know why I thought this, but not even that. I know my family loves me so much, you know? And I thought for sure, like, the biggest pushback was going to be when I told my family that I was going to leave this career that I was in for 7 years. I have great benefits. You know, I go to the doctors often to take care of myself and some other things I'm, you know, working through. And then, you know, like, I have a lot of, like, good roots in Lancaster or in my hometown, you know, and, you know, I could just buy a house here. I could just settle down here, you know. I thought the biggest resistance was going to be them. And And it was the opposite. I mean, I did wait. I waited until I got the offer. Mind you, I was still a social worker when I moved. So I was like, I had a plan. I was like, I'm still going to be a social worker when I move. But once I get there, I'm going to pivot because I'm going to meet people. Yeah. You know? But when I moved, I didn't tell them until I got an offer for a job in Philly. And so I signed my lease. I did not tell them. And when I told them, they were just like, I remember my one uncle, he was just like, I'm proud of you. That takes a lot of courage. You know, people won't do that. They won't just pick up and go. You know, he's also a business owner, so I feel like he's a big risk taker. Yeah. You know, but my other uncle, oh my gosh, I call him my Uncle Phil. That's my Uncle Phil. Like, he's always ride or die. Yeah. He's always giving me a call, like, this is what I got for the day, you know. Yeah. And I feel like he's like my biggest cheerleader. And I remember when I told him, he was like, you know what, Janelle? You got all the information you need. And he always tells me, you make a decision once you have all the information. And based on that, you do what's best for you. Because this is your life. Yeah. You know? And it felt so comforting. And that's, again, it's part of that, like, fears and illusion. Yeah. It's almost like, like we have all these fears that, like, people won't support us. And this was in every era, in every field, I mean. We think people are not going to support us. Yeah. What if this? What if that? But we'll be so surprised that once we allow our light to shine, people actually are attracted to light. Yes. You know, it ain't always about the haters. It really isn't. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it was so nice to see that what I thought would be resistance, because what my family thinks really matters to me, because like specifically like my uncles and my aunt, like these were people, they're part of my 5, you know, and they are people who really have carried me through some of the hardest times in my life and supported me, like, you know, through school, through big decisions, through relationships that were a hot ass mess. Do you know what I'm saying? Yes. Like, shout out to them, okay? You know, so what they say matters to me. But another big resistance, it was like some just physical things, like my anxiety, like it raised the roof. Do you mean? Because you're doing something, your body naturally, and we talk about this, you know, when we talk about like just different things in social work and like, you know, relationships and like the way the mind works. Your body wants to protect you. It does. Your mind wants to protect you. Yes. So it's going to want you to be in that consistent flow or the consistent rhythm. It doesn't want you to change. It wants things to stay the same. So my anxiety, you know, I never viewed myself as someone who had anxiety per se, but I started experiencing like just anxiety that would just pop up. And it would scare me. You know, I was like, I don't want to deal with this. Yeah. In my new life that I think is a movie. Right. What the fuck? Who wrote this? You know? Yeah, yeah. But, you know what I'm saying? Yes. But those are some things that, you know, that was a resistance. And again, myself, like just believing like, okay, you're gonna move to a bigger city, then what? And you know, part of that, it was me understanding that I didn't have to know the then what. And it's hard because I grew up in church, and in church, for me, you had to be on your game. You know, that was part of my thing. Like, you had to know everything. But it's like, with my personal relationship with God, again, that faith piece, I didn't have to know then what. I just had to know what's going on today. Yeah. Today, I'm going to take care of my mind. I'm going to take care of my body. I'm going to do the things that I said I was going to do. And then it's going to make space for tomorrow. Period. I think somebody really just connected with that. Like, I can feel that because it cheers. Yeah. Cheers. Because we do, like, we want to know every single step that is in front of us, and we're so scared to not know. But I mean, even like if you read the Bible at all, they didn't know then what. Like, even because recently I've been feeling like David, where, you know, God like anointed David to be king when he was like 16 or 17. He wasn't appointed king until he was like 30, 31, something like that. That's a long time. Dang, David was king at 31. I'm just getting my life. What the hell? Who wrote this? Who wrote this? Like, hold up. Let me take another one. But that was 16, 17 years of him being faithful in the field. Right. Before he was ever in, you know, the castle. Right. So, and even then he didn't get it right. Correct. Like, no one gets it right. Correct. Take this view off. And I think that's a motto too. Write it on a sticky note. No one gets it right, honey. We're all in this together. And we think that people do because we see social media, which
you know, when people say like, oh, social media is a lie, I don't necessarily think it's a lie. I just think it's one viewpoint.
Thank you. You're allowed to have boundaries on social media.
100%. You don't have to show every single thing. Like, I do like to be transparent. I do sometimes cry and do my thing. But for me, I feel like I've been called to show some of that.
Right.
But not everybody has. And, you know, I mean, so anyways, I say that to say that you don't have to know what's next in order to just be, like, faithful in the right now.
Yeah.
But that's uncomfortable. And that's where, you know, our mind and our body has been designed to keep us comfortable, to keep us safe. And so stepping outside of that is going to be a little scary. You're going to experience anxiety probably. So don't expect it to be super comfortable. But there are things that you can do, like you have done, with like focusing on your mind, focusing on your body, having those affirmations. And you've done such a great job, too, with affirmations. You even have... Do you still have them on your website?
I do not. Sis, I do not.
Okay.
I'm sorry. You know, so you just evolve. You be doing things and it works for that moment.
100%.
But even in that, like, I felt like I had to give myself permission to evolve.
Yes.
You know? And it's like, it's crazy how much, like... And again, I always think that maybe it's a 30s thing. Like, you get to this point in your life where you're like, oh, so no one has it together here? These damn liars. You know, who wrote this? You know,
so
but it's like, oh my gosh, like I went through that, but it was because for me it was an outlet. You know, it was a creative outlet. I could make these, but this moment for me was so personal. I remember I stopped, like, I couldn't even like hang out as much as I could. Like, I was like, no, until I get to the goal to where I'm going, I don't got time for nothing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And even like, you know, different things I was like on my YouTube channel, things like that. Everything slowed down because I was like, I really want this.
Yeah.
I deserve this. I'm not living the life I want. Why? Because of me.
Yeah.
You know? But you said something earlier that I was thinking about, but you brought something up, but it was about how the whole, like, you know, having fear through all of this, right? And it's funny because when I started, like, okay, I'm gonna pivot, I'm done talking about it, because that's the thing, I used to talk about it a lot. You know me. I was like, I want to move. I just need to move. You know, it was always this discussion, the topic of discussion with all my friends, you know, which is good because there's a change theory that we used to use in social work. So we knew when our clients were ready for change, because there's steps to change, right? You're at step one, you're not even thinking about it. Yeah. But then there's like this pre-thought, like this thought that you're like, what happens if I did do this? Yeah. You know? Yep. And that's when you know, okay, this person's going somewhere. Yep. And then there's this next step where it's like, okay, I'm gonna just entertain it and just put my toe in the pool. You know, and that's what I noticed was happening with me. So even if nothing was happening, but I was talking about it, I felt good. I was like, I'm moving. Yeah. But when I started running and I signed up for this like half marathon, I remember, like, in my training, again, Robin from Peloton, she would say, when you get nervous about whether you can finish or not, and when you're in it, just lean on your training. And that gave me girl. I could preach. We need to just sit in that. Because I felt like when I got scared, I had to lean on the fact that I did the work. You know what I mean? I took time to save my little coins so I can move. You know, I applied to a job that I knew I could do. And even if I did this job right now, every day I'm like, what am I doing? What am I doing? Yeah. You know? Yeah. But, you know, I pivoted in that way where I moved first and then I got on my field. But, you know, I had to lean on what I put the work in, I had to lean on that. And I think that's what we all need to, like, understand. We don't give ourselves enough credit. Correct. You know, and it's like, I'm sorry, we were for a lot of years, it was all about being humble. And I'm sorry, be full of yourself. Be full of yourself and acknowledge the work you've done. Yeah. Because when you do that, then when you get to the table, you don't have to question whether you should be there or not. Yeah, because faith is bold. Yes. We think sometimes that faith is like, yes, you know, like, quiet. No, faith is bold. Thank you. It's confident, you know? And I love this quote from Maya Angelou. I love it. She's like, everywhere I am, I belong. There is not no place that I am that I do not belong. I love that. I got chills. And that's how every time I walk in somewhere, I'm like, I belong here. If I'm here, it's because I belong here. So I did the work. Life brought me some pain, some issues, and some things, and I came to it. I showed up. I did the work. You know, one of my friends, she goes, that's really brave that you moved to a big city and you just change your job. Bitch, you brave. I said, that's not really brave. People do that every day.
Yeah.
You know what's brave? Going up to a court and your family's on the other side. Oof. And they're mad at you for something that someone did to you.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
You know what's brave? Saying, I'm going to disconnect myself from people that I'm so comfortable with and I've leaned on and I've just settled for the mediocre with.
Yeah, keep going.
And now I'm going to leave them.
Yeah.
That's brave. Because you don't know. You know what I'm saying? That's hard. What's really brave is saying, I'm going to do what's best for me, whether other people don't understand it. Ain't none of their business. That's brave.
Yes.
Me moving, I'm not a tree. If I was a tree, that'd be brave. But I'm not a tree. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So it's like, yo, we really do. I think we don't give ourselves enough credit. We do brave things that are hard. Some people stay in relationships that are not good for them for so long. Yeah. You know, so I cheer on the people who say, you know what, this ain't good for me. I'm leaving. That's brave. You know?
Yeah. Think back to, if you ever don't feel like you're brave, or if you ever feel like, well, I'm not this and I'm not that, I want you to think back to a time when you were.
Ooh.
Because there pretty much always is.
Yep.
And whenever you think a thought, your brain looks for evidence to prove that thought is true.
Yes.
That's why our thoughts are so important to us. So when you think, oh gosh, I'm not brave, I can never do that, I want you to stop, catch that thought and say, when was I brave? Because then your brain has to answer that question and it fills the mind with all the times that you were brave, even if it was when you were a little girl.
Yeah.
Right? Because sometimes that's the truest part of who we are, was when we were younger. Before the world got to us.
Right.
Or before our parents got to us.
See,
sometimes.
I mean, don't get me wrong. My parents, I love them.
No, I love my parents.
But you know, their fears, they put their fears on you. You know? And it's like, sometimes they're scared because of their experiences.
Right.
It's like, I'm not you. It's okay.
Yes. Yeah, 100%. But
can I be petty real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm gonna be petty real quick. I'm gonna try not to be petty after this. But sometimes what I do is when there's something I want to do and I feel like, you know, whether I'm like experiencing resistance or, you know, I'm just, I'm nervous or I'm scared, I think about the people who are doing it already. And I'm like, Shorty, I'm smarter than that.
Yeah.
I could do it. If they can do it, I can do it. I hate to say it.
No, it's true.
But it's true. You gotta be petty sometimes because you have to be your biggest cheerleaders. And our best friends are petty. They were like, girl, that girl ain't nothing. She got nothing on you. And sometimes you have to be that for yourself. Yes. I ain't trying to, you know, I don't think I'm better than anyone. But sometimes I'm like, I'm above certain things. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So sometimes you gotta be petty and be like, if that person can do it, I can do it.
That's right. Breakable.
Joe Schmo, average Joe Schmo's doing it. Why can't I? You know, and there's other things that we don't see. The gifts that we have, they make room for us.
Yes.
And a lot of times we don't even lean into them because we think they're not good enough. But that is everything. If you would just lean in. If you got the talkies, honey, that's a gift. Lean into that. Are you funny? That's a gift. Yeah. You walk into a room and people stop and pause. That's a gift. If you're, that's a gift. I told my friend the one time, she said something like, oh, you're this because you're funny. So that's why, because you're funny. And I said, baby, it feels good to be on this side of privilege. I am funny. That is funny privilege. You gotta lean in. Lean into what you're good at. Because you'd be so surprised. You'd be so surprised at what opens up the door for you.
There's so much freedom in that too. Like when you do decide to lean in. I remember as a kid, well, even as an adult, my brothers are hilarious. And I'm not funny, and that's okay. Like it is.
She's so cute when she laughs though. That's so cute.
But it's true. Like, and I do love to laugh.
Yes.
And I'm also a really good listener.
Yes.
And I ask good questions. So, okay, maybe I'm not funny like my brothers, but when I learned how to say, but I'm this.
Yes.
Instead of focusing on, oh, I wish I was this.
Say that.
But I am this.
Yes.
Right? That's powerful.
And also, I learned something. I learned this in social, when I did social work. You know, we're very strength-based. So anytime I would speak about something, I would replace but with and. So my brothers are funny. And I'm this.
That's good.
Do you know what I'm saying? Because it changes your mind. It's not despite of.
Right.
No, it's baby. I'm an asset. and. Okay.
Yes. That's a really good shift.
Yes.
Because it's one word.
Yes.
And that's the simplicity sometimes of of true change is actually quite simple, especially when it comes to the mind and just how it all works.
Yes, again,
simple shifts.
Starts there. And that's why I say step one, reprogram the mind. Reprogram the mind. It is your engine.
100%. So I told you before we recorded this that this podcast and this channel in general, one of my goals is to go beyond knowledge and into implementation and giving people things that they can do. Although I do believe so far this conversation has been chock full of things that they can do.
Yeah.
But let's give people a couple of main points.
Yeah.
What did you come up with? 4, I think, that you had on there?
I have 4. I'm going to pull them up.
I think that you did. I think that you had 4 on there.
Yes, I had 4. Yep. So good.
So let's just give people these 4 tips. 3 to 4 things that you can do to help you pivot well.
Yes. I would say, I have this as number 4, but I'm going to start it with number 1.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay. Make yourself a priority. And again, that sounds so simple. And I feel like
he's making you a priority.
Yes, I love it. I love that. You know, this is a big dog.
Yeah, he's
wow.
You say hi.
He's like, it's my turn. He's ready for a pivot because he came down for the tips. He's like, sure, here's down for the tip.
Sit. Stretch. Bird. Sit. Bird. Sit. Sit. Lay down. I know. Lay down.
He's like, I want to pivot well.
I know. Lay down. Oh, we'll just keep talking.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is okay. So right here. So I'm gonna make this number 1, and it's make yourself a priority. Start with your mental health and physical health. Okay. When you value yourself, value these things, and it's hard. That's not easy. And that's what I realized. It's really not easy when you're not used to it. You know, I started therapy my 31st birthday. I was like, this is the first thing I'm gonna do. I had done therapy in the past because I'm a big believer of, like, you know, I was doing social work, so I'm gonna give people this medicine. I want to take it too. You know. And I think everyone needs that space where they can be heard unbiasedly.
Yes.
You know, your girlfriend, and I need to say this because I had some friends who, and they know who they are. I don't care. I ain't throwing them under the bus. I told them, you know, I'm not your therapist. Your parents are not your therapist. You know, like therapists are people who have been trained to actively listen to you. Yeah. To know how to reflect on what you're saying. Yeah. Like, they have years of experience to know how to help you explore your thoughts and help you just listen to yourself and create a space for you. They are trained. You would not go to your gym trainer to acknowledge an issue that your doctor needs to acknowledge. Do you get what I'm saying? Yes. So a therapist, I just think, you know, step 1, like give yourself that. You know. Physical health, mental health. I just think those are big things. And again, it's going to open you up, and it's going to, you know, you're going to find different parts of you, and it's going to help you lean into the things you need to lean into. Next, number 2, I would say make your vision clear. Yeah. Okay. For all you people who need the word to stand behind this, Habakkuk 2 and 2. Write it down, make it clear, so you don't forget. And even if it takes a while, baby, it's going to happen. Yes. It's going to happen. Yes. And so that's a big thing for me. I make it clear. I have my vision board, but I also write myself letters.
I love those letters. I'm going to do that. I would love, in the comment sections, let us know if you're going to keep doing letters, because I love that. I write letters to myself, but not monthly.
Yes. Girl, it's a game changer. Yeah. Like, I literally was bawling, like, even April. Like, April, I did my run. I got this new job. Girl, when I wrote this letter, I didn't even know the firm. I had no idea what this firm was that I now work at. Wow. Crazy. You know? And so it's like, write them, because at the end of the day, you don't have to know how it's going to happen. You just have to believe that it's going to happen. Yes. Period. So make your vision clear. Number 2, feed your faith. Feed your faith. I don't care how you do it, but you have to feed your faith. You have to get up and listen, reprogram the mind. You have to listen to these motivational speeches. I just go on YouTube and I just be like, motivation on this. When I was experiencing some of that anxiety, right? I was like, motivation when experiencing anxiety. Yep. You know, it can be very simple. And the resources are there, and they're free. Exactly. I'm all for a free resource. Okay?
thought.
But they're there for that, you know? If you know that you have a friend or someone who is super positive and give you good energy, make them part of your 5.
Yeah.
Feed your faith.
Yeah.
You know, if you have people around you who are Debbie Downers, baby, you got to go. I'm sorry. Feed your faith. Okay? You for those of you who have kids, you don't let your kid go without eating. Feed your faith.
Yeah. Have you heard of co-regulation?
Yes.
Yes. Kind of reminds me of that in a lot of ways.
Yes.
Of, you know, when you're like, when your system is like unregulated and you feel anxious and you feel all these things, or you're stuck in fight or flight, or you're frozen, or you're overwhelmed, like go to somebody and co-regulate with them. Like even I've been proud of myself because that was hard for me because I'm so independent and I've had to be for so long.
Yeah.
Do you ever struggle with like co-regulation?
Girl, let me tell you. I just think, I hate to say, because I just love my Uncle Phil. I will say that forever because I just feel like he helps me so much with these. I call him my biggest cheerleader. And I feel like it is really hard to be vulnerable with people.
Yes.
And I think when you're an independent person and you've had to be for so long, it's even harder because you feel this weird need to have it all together all the time. And if you show people that you don't, you almost feel like, well, you still love me?
Yeah.
That's real.
Yeah.
You know? And I feel like it's easy to love on others, but it's hard to allow yourself to be loved.
Yes. And
allowing yourself to be loved is to allow people in those dark places. You know, and not necessarily they're so dark, but it's just like, I need a cheerleader. Remind me who I am. Yeah. You know? Yes. And I feel like, I just love though when you do have those relationships that you can just be honest. Those people would just pick up on your tone. You know what I mean? Yes. They get to know you. Yes. And my uncle would just come and be like, hey, I just want to let you know I'm proud of you. You know, and that's everything. And I think you need to be intentional about bringing those people around because there aren't a lot of people like that. Right. And that's what I've learned. But even in that, you have to go out your way to find those messages because when no one else is there, you have to be there for yourself. Yes. Yeah. So go and find that. Yes. Yeah. Which is why, like, reading books and listening to podcasts and going on YouTube. Yeah. So I love that. Yes. And then, this is the last one. I love this one. Okay. Don't share your big dreams with people who are fear-filled. And that may mean you can't share it with no one you know, anyone you know. Because they will smush it. Amazon. Hold on. I feel like when you share something with someone who maybe they feel, and I remember an uncle of mine, my uncle actually told me this. He said, Janelle, there's going to be people who have tried to do what you do, but because they can't, they will tell you that you can't do it. But they are not you. Shout out to you, Uncle Phil. Uncle Phil. They are not you. His name's really Reggie. When I call him Reggie. You know Reggie. Yes, you remember Reggie. Yeah. But he told me that one time. And he said, Janelle, when people aren't able to do things and they succeed in their goals, they will tell you that you can't do it. Correct. So don't, and I remember I was like so, like, I can't tell everyone everything. And I'm a girl, you know me. I'm a chatty Cathy. I want to tell the world. Okay? I tell the world, I'm marrying Alex too, so I need to stop doing that. Just because you can't marry him don't mean I can't. He never sees this. I hope he does. No, maybe at our honeymoon. Because I know it's too late. I'm going to tag him. I'm scared.
No, but that is so incredibly true. You have to protect. You have to protect your dreams sometimes. And there was some quote of saying you can't tell somebody your 8x10 idea when they have a 3x5.
See that capacity
or mindset, right? So you have to protect. You have to protect that, and like internally the people who not to tell.
Exactly. And my thing, I have another uncle. I love him so much, but he's you know, like I said, he's a business owner, and I remember he would tell me, I would sit with him, and I have it recorded on my phone, like just his story. You know, and I was just, and this is why, again, the people who I keep talking about my 5, the people you surround yourself with, you're going to be the average of those people. Yep. Income-wise, emotional intelligence, mindset, fashion, health. I told myself, girl, I don't want any friends who don't take their health seriously. Yeah. I just can't. I can't afford it. Yeah. I just can't. Yeah. And you know, hearing his story and the way he thinks and the way you know, it just changed my mind about the way I live my life. Yeah. You know?
So good. Yeah. So good. Wow. Yeah. So to wrap it all up, first, making yourself a priority. Second, making your vision clear.
Yes.
I'm definitely writing myself letters now.
Please do. Yes.
Feed your faith. Number 3. And number 4, don't share your big dream with a fear-filled person.
Absolutely not. Please don't. Shorty, don't even hang out with them.
True. Stop. You can love people from a distance.
Thank you. Thank you.
That was a hard realization.
Yes.
Right? Because we think that love means that they have to have our ear. But that's not true. You can love people from a distance for sure.
And if I can add one more, it's just be kind to yourself. Because it's hard when we don't see it now. And I remember I was in that. I was like, oh, all these people are doing all these things. Like, why can't I? I was on LinkedIn writing people and setting up coffee chats for so freaking long. And I was like, none of this is working. All these letters I keep getting back that say, I'm sorry, but we picked someone else. Of course you did, because I don't got no experience in this. You know? Yeah. But it's like, this, I guess, can I write just one more?
Yeah, of course.
And maybe this is not, but just know that what God has for you, it is for you. And I think if ever in my life I realized that, it's now. Because I could not believe, you know, I remember Oprah said one time, I don't want my plan. I don't want my dream. I want the God dream. And that's what I want now. I want the God dream for me. Amen. Because it's always better. It's always bigger. That's why I'm marrying Alex Toussaint. Okay, better. Better. But, you know, I just think, like, when I think about where I thought I wanted to live, you know, I told I was a social worker, and I remember I went to the guidance counselor, and I was like, I had all these pieces of paper, and I was like, pick one, and it had all these cities in it, and she picked one, and it said, I don't know, but not here. And I was so mad, because I was like, all these other city names, that's what you picked? You know, but in my head, I thought I was going to move to DC, and that's not where, but now that I'm in Philly, I'm like, wow, this is exactly where I feel like I'm at home. And now seeing where I work, I'm like, I can, and what I do, and like even, you know, the pay, you know, I'm just like, there's no way that I'm here. And it's because what God had for me was better than what I had for myself. You know, and what God has for you, no one can take that away. But again, you have to be willing to be vulnerable and show up as yourself. Lean into your gifts and don't downplay them. So just believe that. Write down your gifts. Write them down. What are my gifts? And start to lean in, because your gifts will make room for you.
Oh, that is so powerful. Thank you so much for being here. I know that y'all were encouraged. I would love to know, like, what your biggest takeaways were. What are some new mindsets that you have, or new thoughts that are kind of running in your mind? And where can people find you in this world? Like, where do you want people to find you?
I want you to find me on the Peloton with Alex Toussaint. Find me with a Tiffany ring. No, but yes, that's
what cup?
Yes. Oh, you know what? I don't even know. I haven't even thinking about
that.
Okay, that's good. Maybe I should. My letters. I'm gonna include that. Yeah, girl, I haven't thought about that. Wow, it's beautiful.
Think about it. Yeah.
I just know who it's coming from. But you know, if you want to find me, yes, please do, please. Clearly, I've had enough, but we can always use more. Okay? The God dream. No, but you can find me at Lots of Nella on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube.
Love it. Yeah. She's very entertaining.
I'm gonna say it's a gift.
You know, I always call my daughter Michaela the entertainer. Right? I mean, because y'all are cut from the same cloth. Yes. Thank you so much for being here. You just blessed a whole lot of people. Thank you. So thank you so much. I love you. You're a light in this world. Thanks, God, for you. Stay shining.
Yes, thank you.
And we love you guys.
Yeah.
If you enjoyed this, share this with a friend if it blessed you. And here on the YouTube channel, which is now the new home of the podcast, like and subscribe. That really helps the YouTube algorithm and says, oh, maybe more people need to see this. So even just a like, a subscribe really helps with that back end of the YouTube world. So thank you so much for being here, and we'll see you next time.
See y'all.